Well, welcome to the Open Compute Project podcast. I am very excited to be here with you today. And on the show today, we have Cagatay Yilmas from RISE Institute, who is also the EMEA OCP lead for the Nordics. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for the invitation, Rob. Great to see you again.
Likewise. So, though people in OCP and maybe even outside of OCP may know your role in the European stage for OCP, can you tell us a little bit more about your role at RISE?
At RISE, I am a project manager. I can say that my main focus is developing proposal to the European Commission, primarily for European funding. And basically, I work with open innovation practices. I find the right partners. I try to develop the right conditions for technologies to incubate and flourish. And I am also taking a lot of responsibilities to disseminate the results.
Excellent. Thank you. And then, so how does that fit? And, if you go to the ri.se website, the RISE website, you can see lots of subjects that other project managers are involved in, from battery storage technology, lots of science and technologies. What's the role that RISE plays in the data center ecosystem?
Well, first of all, maybe it's good to mention that RISE is a big organization. RISE stands for RISE Swedish Research Institutes of Sweden. We are more than 3,300 people. We have many focuses, and some of them are competing technologies. And I'm lucky to be a part of the ICE data center, where we are focusing more on sustainable digitalization. And if you need to really find the right person, maybe it's easier for you to go directly to ICE Data Centers page, and you can easily navigate. And I would also mention that RISE is an independent research organization owned by the Swedish state, and I would argue that we cover many of the research areas. So you have to be a bit skilled to find the right person.
Okay, great. So ICE Data Center, if you're interested in the data center space, that's probably where you want to start look. And we will add the links to ICE, and you can share me the exact location. So when someone's listening to or watching this podcast, they can get there quickly. And one of the reasons to having you on, and maybe it took too long to have you on, but OCP does have a EMEA Summit coming up in Dublin, Ireland at the end of April 29th and 30th. So in our conversation today, certainly we want the European perspective and European lens for the topic. I'm certain there's global perspectives as well too, but we really want to dive into what makes Europe different and what's happening in Europe currently in the data center space that really should be addressed and maybe not lost in all the news around the globe around data centers. So does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So
you go. Sorry.
No, go ahead. If you object, go ahead.
No, it's not objection. I think it's a really good point. Europe is a really active market. It's a big market. And especially, I would argue that European Commission has a vision of creating a vendor-agnostic ecosystem where European partners can easily enter the market. And that's why, especially in the last research projects, we benefit a lot from OCP standards, the standardized features. And it's an amazing incubation area based on co-creation. So basically, all the outcome, we benefit of copyleft licenses of OCP products, and especially European organizations, we are targeting this niche area by using OCP features and enter the market a bit faster. And as OCP EMEA Nordics lead and ICE Data Centers project manager, I strongly recommend organizations to actually benefit this incubation area medium to enter the market. This is what I wanted to add.
No, that's great. No, I appreciate that. It's a perfect transition into our next discussion is, what was Rise's engagement with OCP initially? How did this collaboration alignment start?
I wasn't working back then at RISE, but I know that Meta, back then Facebook, donated some servers to us. And with these servers, I think the first steps of OCP and RISE collaboration started, I would say. And these servers, they were used and utilized in multiple EU projects, such as Pudding Type DC1 project, where we were trying to achieve the market-leading efficiencies, or with other projects like V-District. And even today, we have many researchers here or master's degree or doctorate students. They are using OCP's open hardware, which is leading us to open science, because it's really easy to navigate through the OCP documents. We can easily reach the designs. We can easily control the systems, OCP designs, way easier than the market competitors. So they are all together while we are talking it. Basically, OCP designs are contributing open science. So it was the first start, and it's still continuing today.
No, that's great to hear. It sounds like you're having a lot of success using OCP. Tell me a little bit more about the difference between maybe a proprietary market design and what you've been able to do with OCP. What blockers exist with proprietary market offerings, and then what you can get out of OCP?
I can give a lot of examples, I guess. The first thing is about the thermal management. I always found it really amusing to be able to find the 3D designs and even sometimes bill of materials of the OCP servers, where we can actually build the thermal designs on more realistic models. Also, I think the teams who are collecting the data from servers, they also find it always easier to collect the data from the OCP servers. As well as, I think, when we need to manipulate the server funds for more realistic data, it was also easier to control OCP fans. And from the efficiency point of view, I think I don't need to argue the advantages of what OCP designs has proposed to the market, more efficiency. Yeah.
Excellent. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I imagine having access to things like bill of material and 3D drawings. Some of the work you're doing is around material decarbonization and understanding the contents of our servers. So that probably makes things a little bit easier. Okay, so you weren't there at the start when OCP and RISE, or when RISE received the OCP servers from Meta, or probably Facebook back then, before they became Meta. But how about your role at RISE and OCP? You personally, where did the interaction start for you, and what have you been up to around the OCP programs?
If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm working at RISE because of Europe. When I started working in the data center market in 2019, and OCP European Summit, if I'm not mistaken, the name back then, it was the first OCP organization that I have attended. And I remember back then I asked for an interview with you, and I wanted to ask you to support me with my first data center, European Union funded first data center project. And I remember you invited me to John Summers' presentation, and you told, "Hey, I'm going to introduce you to someone from RISE, and I think it's going to be the biggest contribution to your work." And it happened. Back then, I couldn't have them in my project, but now I found myself in RISE. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, excellent. It's great that OCP fostered that too. I think a lot of times we talk about the technology and the components and the information, but I think really one of the biggest values is the OCP community and those who are working on different things. If you come to OCP, even just one of our events, or participate in one of our calls, there's probably someone that's working on something that is adjacent or connected to the work that someone's doing in the data center space. That's a
It's a
great
great
example how
environment.
Yeah, it's great that you were able to connect with John Summers, who's also done lots of presentations and has been part of
Yeah.
OCP for a long time too.
Yeah. I mean, John is now, we work in the same unit with John, and he's also acting as the chair of the Future Technologies Symposium. So as RISE, we are doing our best to contribute OCP for years.
No, you absolutely have. Your the Rise mark is over many programs at OCP. You mentioned Future Technology Symposium, which for us is a demonstration really more on the academia side, research side of technologies that are before they're really to the market, maybe 2 years or greater out. Is that the only? That's not the only program that Rise is involved in. You're part of the European EMEA group, and then what else are you connected to in OCP? Any other programs?
I'm doing my best to follow up all the programs. If I can make it to the meetings, I try to watch the presentations, and especially I would recommend all of the audience to actually catch up with us in the events, because events are the best way to catch up all the advancements in the compute technologies, and a great way to start the collaborations. So this is how I'm trying to cope up. But I would say I'm trying to follow up, especially the coolant-related projects and waste utilization, as well as now I'm trying to catch up with the server side.
Yeah, there's been a lot of activity there lately. I mean, cooling environments, of our 12 top level projects, we have cooling environments. There's a specific focus on heat reuse that's been very active and publishing documents recently. And then I would say the server space as well is going a lot of change. I think due to the incorporation of cooling technologies, liquid cooling, cold plate, immersion, that overlap has been increasing a lot just in the last couple of years. Um, so we kind of talked about programs. I want to understand more about ICE Data Center, which is an OCP Experience Center. And we mentioned at the top of the discussion was ICE Data Center. Tell us more. What is it? When did it start? What are you doing there?
Before I came to RISE, I was quite envious about the infrastructure there. Usually, if you want to be involved in data center research, you are quite limited because there is the bright and dark side of the moon. Bright side, I would say that most of the innovations are happening in the data center world, and we actually follow it, but we get excited. But people like me who are actually managing the projects, we are finding it really difficult to find some mediums, some organizations, some places where we can validate these technologies. And ICE Data Center, I think it was established in 2016 to answer this niche, where regardless of the technology readiness level, if a technology is going to enter market, it should be tried in relevant environments. And ICE Data Center is basically covering everything you need when you want to test and validate a technology. You can consider power, you can consider any kind of test setups when it comes to cooling, waste heat, raise utilization. So it is difficult to explain everything in a podcast. I would recommend people, if they're interested, to come and visit us to see what kind of facilities we have and what we have done so far. This is what we do. We work with you, with organizations, and we help you to understand maybe the strengths and improvement capacity in your technologies.
Interesting. So first, you said, you can't cover everything here in the podcast. I agree. Also, I'm going to borrow your phrase, the dark side and bright side of the moon. I think in infrastructure, some people might call that like the back of the rack and the front of the rack, or it may be development outside the data center and inside the data center. But I really like that turn of phrase. I'm going to borrow it from you.
Yeah, please do so. But people should understand, like in this case, I want to add, usually digital technologies, information technologies, they are the most sensitive parts of the organization now, where we host the most critical data, where we run most mission critical and most important loads or data. is basically being processed. It's not easy. I understand it's not easy to host dramatic changes in these technologies. That's why we are trying to cover this niche area to conduct all these tests in a controlled, safe environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Critically important. The vast majority of people that are connected to technology, which is nearly everyone now, uh, have almost no visibility, or very few people have visibility into where this data is processed and the infrastructure that supports it. So this is a great opportunity to give people access to the dark side of the moon, I guess you would say. If someone wants to set a tour, we can set a link. They can reach out to you or reach out to somebody within the ICE program.
Yes, I would say that me and John, we are usually in the event, so you can always find us, me or John Summers. I have my colleagues, maybe Isabel Kremlin. I would share the email with you, or Torbjörn
Okay,
Minde, the unit manager, and we would love to guide you.
great. And then is it for us it's an OCP Experience Center because, as you mentioned earlier, you've been working on OCP servers for a long time now. Uh, is that the only thing that's there? You probably have equipment from all sorts of organizations, not just OCP, right?
Yeah, we pretty much host many products from many different organizations. But I would say that OCP, being an OCP Experience Center, maybe gives us extra flexibility to adapt different environments, like different power distribution requirements, different cooling requirements. So, yeah, I think we are vendor agnostic, and OCP is a part of our family here.
Excellent, great to hear it. Um, let's see. Anything that you want to share out of ICE and the Experience Center activities that have made an impact or recent success story?
I can say that so far we hosted many tests to validate some technologies from the market, but nowadays we are also planning to grow because the IT intensities they are also growing significantly. So we are working on some investments to be able to host larger scale digital technologies, megawatt scale digital technologies, especially their power distribution and cooling and waste heat valorization capabilities we want to test and we want to focus. So I think we will communicate more during the next OCP events. People, if you are interested in validating technologies, you can always reach us out and you can follow up the news from RISE.
Excellent. Would certainly encourage people to do that. It's interesting that you mentioned things at megawatt scale. I think it sounds increasingly important as we validate these technologies and people are making changes to these technologies. The scale and intensity and density of these systems have grown exponentially. Uh, a minor change on a single component can have much larger impact at scale. Once it's deployed at a very large data center or hyperscale data center, it's very very interesting.
I can add something. Recently, I'm involved in an EU-funded project called HeatWise. First time in my life, I'm seeing the things not only from the data center part, but also from the building part. Interestingly, EU wanted us to focus on climate neutral buildings with high IT loads. This is not a hyperscaler project. I would argue that EU started focusing on more compute continuums and what's going to happen when edge computing is going to take more action and take more acceptance in the market. And I would argue that hyperscalers already we have done a lot of research on them. We did our best to push them on the efficiency side. However, for the edge nodes integrated into energy grids, this is not the same story. So it is not only the waste heat demand that we are trying to cover from the building side, but we are also trying to answer the temperature requirements of the different grids within the buildings. So I would love to also share some information, some links about that project to you, if you would like to share with the audience. I think it is really time for us to see data centers as a part of smart grids and maybe microgrids, and try to utilize them as an active part of these grids, and make these grids more efficient as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. We've been seeing lots more part of the conversation in the news around edge deployments, certainly tied to things like um, inference in AI workloads. The edge is certainly, it seems like it's going to play a larger role. And then compared to a hyperscale data center that has, very consistent uh, workloads and very consistent environmental conditions, when you go to the edge, as you said, it's very different. The buildings are different. The grids that they live on, and it's highly varied in Europe, especially. So, yeah, that's very interesting, and I would imagine much more complex than even pushing a hyperscale data center and sustainability.
I think we can say dependency is different. These are not self-standing systems. So we are not only focusing on our efficiency, but we actually try to find a common point with the buildings, where both building and grid side and the data center side is delivering the best efficiency possible.
Yeah, and then is that an opportunity to shift workloads to maybe different sites, or what opportunities do you think exist when you have a variable on kind of both sides?
From our side, yes, shifting the workloads, of course, it's one of the things that we foresee. But I would say that now we are trying to see it as a digital twin. So if we can deploy this digital twin, then if we can observe the environment, like the external temperatures, like grids, carbon density, maybe pricing, we can actually observe multiple variables, and we can help the systems not only focus on one aspect of the efficiency side, but try to see the big picture and gain the highest over efficiency after all.
Yeah, that's man, another fascinating element of data center changing is digital twins. Um, digital twins have been around for some time, but I think historically have been for one site and maybe different configurations, and it's a little bit more than a moment in time than maybe PUE or kind of a myopic metric. But yeah, digital twins in a varied environment probably has a lot of opportunities. And then setting schedules for workloads, environmental controls, um, pricing agreements for utilities. Those would all come into factor. That's going to become uh, many, many more variables uh, when understanding how to operate a data center, edge data center,
Yes,
or compute node, or whatever it may be.
First of all, maybe it's good to remind ourselves that EU actually started the regulatory work when it comes to push the data centers on the more efficient side. So the regulatory work doesn't mean that whatever I will talk now is going to be applied directly like this in all the countries. So the regulatory work is being delivered, and the countries one by one they actually adapt this work into their own internal processes. But they introduced the Energy Efficiency Directive recently, and in this directive, they focused on four KPIs, including power usage effectiveness ratio, water usage effectiveness, energy raise factor, and renewable energy factor. So these KPIs, these are already the KPIs that we use in most of our research projects. We are not only using them in projects per se, but I think it's a good step towards the data center efficiency, and it's a good encouragement. And EU wanted these KPIs to be publicly disclosed for the data centers over 500 kilowatts, and for waste heat reutilization, they encourage data centers above 1 megawatt to actually publicly disclose this data. These values, I think most of the people, they think and argue like maybe for most of the edge units, they are not going to be lower than 500 kilowatts. But this is not going to change the fact. This is a habit in the market. This is a good role model, let's say. And as long as we track multiple KPIs, not only limited to those 4 KPIs, but more we understand the nature of the data centers, and more we can actually encourage more stakeholders from the market to invest more into pushing their data centers on the efficiency side. I think this is sometimes we argue with many European stakeholders if it is a good step from the EU or not, because yes, it is putting us into a difficult position. We have to collect more data, we have to disclose more data. But usually such regulations help, especially markets, to develop more efficient technologies. So I want to see it from the bright side. There is the full side of the glass. And if we can use this opportunity, I think already Europe is a great place where we flourish new technologies for sustainable digitalization. Maybe it can actually encourage us to do more for the future.
Yeah, I completely agree. We have seen over history of digital infrastructure that sustainability initiatives originated in Europe, many of them did, and then have been adopted all around the world, regardless of whether or not there's regulation in those other countries. The other thing that I see as a potential is if a market is created for those data centers that are 500 kW or more, or reporting requirements or encouragement for megawatt or greater data centers, that if it works for a 500 kW data center, why wouldn't it work for an edge data center as well? And then there's resources and tools available to them, even if they're not required to do so. Maybe they see a market advantage in doing so.
Also, one last comment about this, because I think it's critical. It is not only going to show the weaknesses of the market, but it can also give us the advantage of improving the grid, improving the grid integration, and developing a business case, a model for more data center waste heat to be utilized by the smart grids, district heating systems, and so on. So it's a good start. It is challenging. We have a lot to do to make it sufficiently work in all climates, in all grids. But I think many organizations, as well as RISE, we are investing a lot of time to tackle these challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of went off a tangent. I do want to bring it back to talk about RISE's cloud research test environment. We talked a little bit about the ICE data center. The research test environment, does that live within the ICE data center?
Yes, we are both covering the commercial side. We help Swedish organizations and Swedish researchers to benefit from our test infrastructures, not only cloud, but we also host market-leading edge nodes if you want to test emergent technologies which are latency sensitive. But also we cover the cloud side, and everything we have is built on open source software stack. So I think we are given a great advantage for organizations to come and work with us. Also, this is more the cloud and edge use cases that I mentioned. As I told you, we have a big test lab consisting on numerous or different elements. And I think that would be easier for the audience, or for those who wants to see or who wants to know how we can contribute to their research or technologies. They can contact us and we can go through that.
Okay, great. Yeah, we don't have to list them all here. Someone may or may not decide to take notes on all the capabilities. Any notable projects coming out of that you're working on now, or have you recently completed?
We just talked about HeatWise, but one of the most exciting projects that just started is Higher Project. In Higher Project, we are developing the first European server prototypes. So EU invested a significant amount of funding to develop European processors. Multiple grants opened, like European Processor Initiative and Copilot and RISE projects, for example, and that those prototype ARM and RISC-V based microprocessors now they are being the base infrastructure for the European servers. And I think it is great to mention that many parts of those servers, like the network card and so on, they are using the OCP standardized features. So we collaborate quite closely with OCP and many organizations from OCP ecosystem. I would like to mention like Cyper and 2CRSI. These are the partners that you might be familiar from the OCP events.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting to see solutions that were developed within OCP that have lives well beyond, I think, their original intention. We've seen that in open source software for decades now. But it does seem like just in the last few years, we're seeing more and more adoption of OCP based solutions that, the purpose that they were created for, was for potentially one customer or one use case, have now, expanded well beyond. So it's really exciting to see that in markets and in areas that I don't think the original creators ever intended to, but are probably thrilled to see it.
Actually, for those, and you're also invited, of course, who are interested in this project, we will be having a panel. Just today, I received that email from Kate, and we will be talking about the risk paradigm shift in the market and how EU is taking a part in this place in this contribution. And I don't know when it is now. I don't know if the agenda is published, but I think OCP and EMI summits, they are getting more and more exciting.
No, that's very exciting. That's it's also neat that you're able to share that right now. The emails just went out this morning, or if you're in Europe today,
Yes.
for the panels and breakout sessions that were accepted. And so, those who have never been to an OCP summit, the content in our summits is selected by the community, and those are the subject matter experts that work within that technology or within that space. And so, it's very exciting to hear that. Your presentation of the many that get submitted was selected. So you've heard it here first. Your presentation will be available at the EMEA Summit, and you will be there sharing it. So RISC-V, it's RISC-V. What else is on the topic? What else is part of the discussion?
I mean, the topic was more like risk, because we covered both ARM based infrastructures and RISC-V. But we want to see like how this risk infrastructure is changing the market, how European initiatives like European Processor Initiative and other related projects like Hire and Riser, they contribute to the market, and what is the role of OCP here?
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I think it's a new shift and definitely kind of a turning point of not more of the same, but something different. Definitely something that the European audience be very interested in. So I encourage them to attend your session. And by the time that this gets published, which will probably be in a few days, we should have the schedule posted, so I can also include that.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit more about the EMEA Summit beyond the risk presentation. What else are you looking forward to, or what else are you involved in, or is RISE involved in at the EMEA Summit?
I mean, I already mentioned about future technologies, but I'm personally myself, I'm mostly interested in future technology symposium because we are trying to be the bridge between like the research and the like commercial products, right? And also, like usually, OCP summits, you can't stop. You have a lot to watch, and you're restless for a few days.
That's true. That's true. We have, as you mentioned, Future Technology Symposium, which I lead at OCP, the Innovation Village. And so Innovation Village, which is on the Expo Hall floor, is an area where pre-commercial developments, future technology demos are showcased. So typically they don't get an audience in an expo hall environment because those typically come with costs and companies need to sponsor booths and things like that. So in Innovation Village, these are FTS programs and initiatives that have been invited to showcase live demos, and they'll be there on the show floor. I'm trying to think of a few that'll be there. Sarabyte will be there. We'll also have Silth Technologies. They are working on PCIe fabric. Sarabyte will be there on extreme storage media tests. It kind of runs the scale of different things people are working on. There will also be things from not FTS, but the OCP projects that'll be there. But yeah, things that are getting closer, a little more beyond research, live demos. We have things that people want to showcase, and you can see they're live in person. They will be there.
It's exciting.
Okay, and then beyond presenting and sharing what RISE is up to, maybe from a consumption standpoint, or maybe just from your individual experience, like I have mine and others have shared on this podcast, like what do they really like at OCP summits? And we'll focus on the EMEA summit for this discussion. But what do you look forward to? Is it the keynotes, the breakout sessions, the social events?
I mean, I participate them all, but to be honest, I would love OCP events, not because of only the content, but also because of the mindset of the individuals who are participating. As stated, RISE is a research organization, and we basically contribute to the open innovation, where innovation is not only happening in the organization itself, but we step in sometimes, be a part of the solution, and step out once we deliver the outcomes. And in most of the events I participate, I think the focus is more commercial products where their technology readiness level is high. And Open Compute Project is the only medium that when I go there, I see the commercial products, I can contact it with their developers, but I can also find a common place with them where I can discuss the next generation of technologies, where I can discuss possible collaborations. So I can't say if, I'm only participating into the sessions, but after the sessions, all the events organized to make us actually integrate and make us communicate. I think these are amazing. Also, I should say that all the project groups under OCP projects and sub-project groups, let's say, they are all based on this. Knowingly or unknowingly, they are based on this open innovation practices. So I feel home.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I have a shared experience. That's how I felt about the events and the organization, as I've been involved in OCP long before I became an employee of the foundation. Been involved in a long time, and the mindset is really different at open compute events. They're looking to innovate. They're looking to share ideas. They're looking to listen and hear something new. And I do think that's a big difference. Okay, away from the event for a moment, just open compute, open, and be it just, I guess, open innovation in general in Europe. You mentioned a couple things. You mentioned things like the risk involvement, the work you're doing, how open has enabled RISE uh, to have access to information that's much easier. What does open compute look like in Europe in general? You have a role representing the Nordics, but we have a group of EMEA representatives from all over Europe, because Europe is such a diverse uh, geography and culture and technology scope. What does the next few months, or if you want to reach even further, look like for open compute in Europe?
I mean, many things are quite rapid. Like there are a lot of AI factory investments. EU is stepping into AI business more and more. And also, there are a lot of European cloud representatives. They are taking more action, and not only cloud, but I would also argue that the telco operators, they are taking active parts into being more active and answer all the compute and telecommunication needs in the Europe. And especially considering that now data is the new code, and we have to respond it in a way. I mean, with the leadership of Raul Yarun and other representatives of the EMEA team, I think we are trying to represent OCP and introduce the stakeholders from the Europe, like the possible advantages, like because it is basically joining into a new world. You are just abandoning the classical way of thinking, and you are opening a new era and maybe broadening your ideas, the way you think. So we try to contribute into that. And I think all these projects like Hire and other projects that I mentioned, I think step by step, OCP is going to be a big factor in the European land.
Yeah, I think so too. I couldn't tell, and it's refreshing to hear it from you and your perspective in Europe, because I couldn't tell if it was just because I was paying closer attention to the activity in Europe, or if the activity was really growing. And from the examples you've given, I think it's the latter. I think uh, from our participation in Europe as OCP was a lot of consumption and discussion, but there are a lot of things emerging that are leveraging open technologies coming out of Europe. And the innovation coming out of Europe is so important. And I'm really excited to see that start to change and that start to grow. And so it's I think it's a very interesting time for open in Europe.
I also want to add, for years, I mean, even before I moved to Sweden, or even before I started taking a part in OCP, I was doing my best to participate in OCP events. And in my hometown in Turkey, I would say that people didn't know OCP. And eventually, recently, I started seeing some individuals representing really important organizations from Turkey, and I didn't know them before, but they confirmed that they are using basically OCP specifications to build some products. It was really exciting to see that this is organically happening. Obviously, still the I mean, the way that OCP was established and targeting mostly hyperscalers at the beginning. I mean, the customers of OCP designs, they already know it, and they are big players in the market.
Sure.
What I'm trying to say now, I think I see more diverse audience in the event, and people started acknowledging the OCP. So it is something positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to hear those examples. I sensed it even just in our last EMEA summit. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. There's don't underestimate the innovation that's coming out of Europe in the coming months and years. And I think OCP is a way that people can uh, not start from zero, progress on top of someone else's work, and innovate faster. So it's very exciting to see. As we wrap up, you mentioned a couple ways to collaborate with Rise. It's too much to talk about on a podcast. We couldn't possibly cover all the different topics, but there's the Rise website. We'll also drop the link to the ICE Data Center and your cloud research work. We can also share your contact information to reach out to you. You mentioned talk to you about what you offer, what research capabilities you have, and what you have there at your facilities. You talked about coming to take a tour. Anything else people should reach out to you for?
I mean, I think it's good to mention that there are basically three different ways we collaborate. One of them is a partnership program, where companies like Vertiv, BP, Castrol, and so on, they are in our partnership program. And we have a long-term collaboration with them. And also the second thing is if you don't want to be involved in the partnership program, I think they can contact my colleague Isabel. Isabel is basically the first person who is reaching, who you can reach out. You can discuss the need, the support that we can provide for the innovation at stake. And the third thing, maybe where me and John here we can contribute more. If you are working in a particular area of innovation, and we are also seeking for European funding. And we have a wide network of the organizations, and once the EU sets up the goals, basically shaping the future of European digital ecosystem, we track these goals, and we actually, people like me, we develop proposals to get the funding. Then we sit down and we work and we collaborate and we make it accessible by the market. So 3 different ways of collaborations we can provide. Depending on what the organization or person needs, we would just find the best solution for them.
Sounds great. Thanks for outlining, what you have to offer and what you can provide. So please reach out. We'll send all the information. We'll include it here on the podcast on the listing here. So you've already shared that you'll be at EMEA Summit and that you have a session that is accepted. So we'll encourage everybody to go to that specific session. But if you need more details, if you go to the Open Compute Project website and look at events, you'll see EMEA Summit. And you'll see the details of where our event is hosted in Dublin, Ireland on April 29th and 30th of 2025. Anything you'd like to close us out with here?
I'm just looking forward to meet all of you in the OCP Summit, and I wish you a great day.
Thank you. You too. We'll talk to you soon.